back to my channel. My name's Bree and today we're going to be doing some macrame. I haven't done it for a little bit, so I figured now would be a good time. I also have a genuine need for this piece of macrame. Usually I just make something because I want to, like, as a gift or for a wedding that doesn't actually get like hung in my house or anything, but there has been this blank space of wall that has really been bothering me lately, and it's only like a really kind of thin area, and I thought it would be perfect for a really small but long piece. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I consider this kind of like a beginner tutorial. We're only going to be doing two types of knots, which is the square knot, which is a given, we always do square knots, and also the running double half hitch. That's pretty much the only knots we're going to be using. As always, you're going to need something to hang your cord from. I have chosen to go the more natural route with a piece of wood. So even though this will be quite narrow, you don't want your wood to be too thin. You want it to be like kind of thick, even though it is a small piece. This is because you want to still create like a sense of balance. If it's too thin, because the cord is quite long, it'll look kind of bottom heavy. I just found this, it comes from a tree, and basically I left one end kind of raw, and then I used a saw on the other to get it to the size I want, and then I just sanded it back to remove any dirt and just crusty bits. And like for all of my macrame pieces, I got my cord from industrialyarns.com.au. They're really good, the cord's awesome. I'm not going to show you how to measure and cut in this video. You can go and look at my wedding macrame arch or the wall hanging where I showed in there. The first thing we're going to do now that our cord is all measured and cut is we are going to hang it from our hanging device, which is whatever you have. It could be anything. Mine's a stick. We're going to do that now. We've just gone ahead and started to hang our cord. Well, the majority of it really. We've got 12 pieces so far. We're going to have 14 all up. So what you want to do is find the half of your cord, so folded in half. You want to find the center bit. This is your centerpiece. What you want to do, this is called a lark's head knot, I hope. And you grab your centerpiece, you throw it over the top, hold it in like a pinch. Now that it's gone over, you put your fingers in the hole and you pull the cord through. See what I mean with it going? Fuck's sake. I'm gonna do that again because I'm a fucking idiot. So you find your center bit, you hold it in a pinched pattern, you put it over the top of the wood so you can see it here. You then get your two pieces of cord and you pull them through that hole. Remember, they're really long. And then that's it. It's hung. You just pull it tight and it's hung like that. And that's it. Your cord's hung. You can then go ahead and make sure that they're spaced pretty evenly before you start. I'm pretty sure once you start doing square knots or whatever you're doing anyway, they will just kind of come together naturally. So for this piece, I am feeling a lot of kind of triangles or diamonds or pointed edges, and like I said, we're just doing square knots and double half hitch running double half hitch knots. So let's not waste any more time with me bloody yabbering and let's begin. The first thing we want to do are square knots. I want to make an upside down triangle here. We want to do some square knots, create this triangle, and we also want to frame pretty much everything in my mind that I'm thinking of right now. I want to frame everything with the double half hitch knot. So it's basically the whole concept. We're going to do square knots and we're going to frame them with double half hitch knots. Starting at the outside, you're going to want to take 4 pieces of cord. 1, 2, 3, 4. To do a square knot, you want to take your right piece of cord, hold it in front of the middle two, and behind the left piece. That left piece then goes behind all 3, but in front of the right one and gets pulled through like so. So in order to complete the square knot, you're going to go back the other way. So you're going to take the left piece here. It's going to go in front of the middle two, behind the right piece. That right piece is going to go behind that left and the middle two, and then in front of the far left piece. And then you're just going to pull it tight. And there's your first square knot. Pretty fucking simple. I mean, pretty simple. So, again, you want to do another square knot next to it. Remember, we have 14 bits of cord, which means we have 28 single pieces of cord. So your right one is going to come in front of the middle two and behind the left. The left is going to come behind all three and then in front of the far right piece. And you're just going to tighten that up. And then to finish it, the left goes in front of the middle two and behind the far right piece. The far right piece goes behind all three and then in front of the far left. And you tighten it like so. We'll do one more. Right in front of the middle two and behind the left, and left behind all three. When I mean all three, I mean the bit that's folded in front, these two here, and then in front of the far right vertical piece. Tighten it, and then you just do the same again. Left in front of the middle, two behind the right. That right comes in front of, behind all three, and then in front of the left. And another square knot. In order to create the triangle effect and the diagonal, it's pretty simple. On either side, each time you start a new row of square knots, you just want to leave out the outer two pieces of cord, and that's what's going to help create that diagonal. We'll just create it in general. Me no speaky good. So again, we're gonna leave out the far left two pieces of cord and the far right two pieces of cord on either side, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna continue to square knot. And see, we're at the end of the row now. Got one more square knot to do. Make sure they're semi-tight, depending on your preference. I like mine tight, and I'm leaving out those two. So to continue, you can see that little diagonal is starting here. To maintain that, again, when we go down to the next row, we're gonna grab these two on either side and we're gonna throw them out, and they're gonna like hang out in the backyard with the other lot. And you can see it'll start to make that diagonal. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna keep doing that every time I hit a new row. I'm just gonna take two out until we get to our final destination, which should be one square knot and a point, creating that upside down triangle. Where we want to frame our triangle, which is where the double half hitch comes into play. So the basic concept of this is you have what's considered to be the runner cord, and you do your knots onto the runner, and 9 times out of 10 is the outside cord. So we're going to start from the left hand side and work our way in. So the outside cord becomes the runner. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I perfect these and they're so easy, and then sometimes I still have the hardest time just trying to figure it out. But anyway, you want to take your other cord. It goes behind and then through the hole and creates and you pull it tight and it creates like a little shell, and you do the same thing again, except it goes in front. So it is like, well, technically it's behind, but it's like under and over and through the hole. You pull it tight and that's it. So it's behind there, goes under, there's your running cord, in front and then through the hole. You pull that tight. So you do it twice for each piece of cord. Under, over, through the hole, and then you pull it tight. And you can see it started to create this little, I call them little sea snail shells. Grab the runner again. Under, over, through the hole, like so. Pull it tight. Over, through the hole, like so, and pull it tight. And you just pull it tight so it hangs up out the top with the square knots, and you will do that until you get to the very last square knot here, and you can see how they're divided into 4, like the cords coming out of that square knot are divided into 4. You will use that runner all the way up until that one, and then in order to frame the other side, you grab the right hand side and you'll run it all the way until you get to the middle with these two here, and that will be perfectly symmetrical. So let's do this. Our way to the middle, and if you're worried that one doesn't look as long as the other, you can always just pull them out a little bit, stretch them out. So there you go. So now that we're here, you want to grab both your runners and you want to choose which runner is going to be like the dominant runner, and I'm going to choose the right hand one. I'm then going to use the left runner and I'm going to use it to knot onto the right hand runner, if that makes sense. I fucking hope it makes sense. I'm trying to teach you something, Jesus. No. So you can see them like that. The right becomes the runner, the left becomes the knot. It's gonna go over the top, pull it through, pull it tight. I personally think it looks better with just one. But to do it properly, apparently you were supposed to do it twice. And that's it done there. So it's done twice, and that's how you finish your border. Next thing I want to do is follow that shape, and I want to create like an arrow with square knots in the center, similar to this, but you just don't have the bit up here. It would just be a nice arrow. So to do that, we have to do this running part first. So this can be a little difficult if you pull too tight or too loose. You want to create a diagonal. So again, you're going to want to come from the outside in to the center. So choose your most outside piece on the left hand side and the right hand side to do this, to create a runner, and then find, I think that's good, like a gap that you want to create. I think that's a nice enough gap, and work with that. So again, you want to start your running half hitch. Just get that knot. I think that's good, roughly there. And then tie it tighter. This one might be a little bit more difficult as you're not like right up against square knots to help keep it straight and diagonal. So you're just gonna have to really keep an eye on these gaps in here, like these pieces here. If it's too loose, you'll see that that'll start to go real funny, and they won't stay straight, they'll go a bit weird. So just keep an eye on that. And just pull each time. You want the knot to be just a little bit lower so that you can start creating that diagonal, so it won't be as tight each time. This one here seems to be having a struggle. Just pull it down if you need to. The perfect thing about these is if you ever stuff them up, you can just literally like just pull that runner out. You don't have to untie the knot each knot. You just literally pull that runner out and they'll just drop. So just try and keep an eye on the space in between here and the one you're creating. And each time just not pull it as up as high or as tight, so you start creating a diagonal. You can see that happening now. These aren't that straight, but I mean, they're never really going to be. Or maybe yours will be, but mine aren't. And just try and keep it as parallel as possible. And we're going to do that on both sides until again we meet in the middle, similar to here. Here I forgot to turn the microphone on, which I did the whole video. Surprise, surprise, that's why the audio is so soft, but this needs a voiceover so you can understand what I'm doing. Basically here we're just filling it with square knots. In order to do square knots on an angle, you have to kind of bring the square knot up to the innermost cord's highest point. So on the outer cord you can see that there's quite a gap left, and that's because if you were to pull it any tighter it would actually sit flush up against that diagonal, which is what we don't want, because we want to maintain them at a horizontal angle. Is that an angle? Anyway, so yeah, that's basically it. You only want to take your square knot up as high as the most inner piece of cord. You want to leave that little bit of gap up on the left hand side, and that's because usually you would have a square knot above it, but because you don't have 4 pieces of cord you obviously can't put one in there. Then you want to take the next 2 pieces of cord from the square knot you've already tied and grab another extra 2 pieces of cord going along, and you're going to make another square knot, and this is how you're going to get that nice diagonal. And you can see it's brought all the way up. So once you kind of get the outside one done, it'll help the flow of everything inside. You don't have to worry about that gap too much, but every time on the outside when you do it, you want to make sure you leave that tiny little bit of space so that your square knot sits nice and straight, nice and horizontal. And each time you work your way in with each new square knot, you're just going to take 2 pieces of cord from the square knot you've just done and then 2 fresh pieces of cord, and you're just going to do that the whole way to make your triangle. You finish one row and you start the next row again. Basically while you're doing this as well, you want to stop right before you get to the center. You should have at least 1 piece of cord left on the other side. You can see here where it's half and half, and then you just start from the other side and work your way in as well. So it's easiest and best, especially when it gets to the center, to work what left to right, then left to right. So do one side, then the other side, one side, then the other side. And then when you get to the middle, you take the 4 you have in the middle and you make your square knot. Done. And then start from the left side again and then move to the right. So it's exactly the same, you're just flipping it and going left to right, or right to left, right to left. One side, then the other, meet in the middle, start again. So this is pretty much what we have so far. I have gone and done this off camera just because I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. I look like an animal because it's the next day and I have no makeup on. So again, it's a pretty basic concept, similar to how we did these ones. We just want to do the double half hitch all the way to almost the middle. You want to make sure that you leave 2 behind right before you get to the dead center. So this side has 2 left out. We're going to leave out 2 here. So just go ahead and do the double half hitch knot. I think the actual number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So on 11 of the strings on the way in. Top line here now, and what we want to do is do the first row of square knots. So very similar to here, so the one we did above. You're going to take your 4, you're going to do a square knot, you're going to pull it as tight as it gets to this top area here. Don't worry about that. And we're going to do that until we almost get to there. There's a bit of a trick doing it there. If you do the square knot all the way up, it creates, like, this looks quite rounded here, but it actually isn't that bad compared to what it would be if you did a square knot all the way into the corner. So it's still got like a bit of a sharp angle on it. If you did a square knot all the way in, it would look quite rounded, which we don't want. I'll show you what I mean when we get there. So we're just going to do square knots all the way in, but leave these 2 here. We don't want to square knot those into anything. Okay, so as you can see, we've now left these 2 right here, and we just want to get the running part, and we want to turn it around, and we want to start going the other way now. So we're going to grab the running cord here, and we're going to turn it, and we're just going to do these 2 here. So in order to get that angle, you kind of want to leave a bit of a gap there where there is no knot on it. So just do your double half hitch, and you can see what I mean there. That's kind of, you can see that's the running bit of cord there, and that's the knot part. So we're going to try and get that angle by doing that. Pull it tight. If you want more of an angle, you're just going to have to play with it, like pull out the running knot a little bit more, like the runner, to give it that bit more of an angle. And then do the second one. Oh wait, we don't do the second one yet. So it's just that one. I'm a fucking idiot. Oops, pull it apart. So for now it's just that one, and then we want to go and do another row of square knots. Roshi, give it a rest, bud. What are you? Okay, so you can see that one hangs out a little bit. You just pull that there. Now we're going to grab the runner again, and we're going to start going back this way. Take that one. Just don't forget, if it gets too curvy for your liking, just to pull that runner out a bit and accentuate that angle. So you've got 2 little gaps, they should look pretty symmetrical. And then you just want to keep doing that with your square knots and get them all the way to the bottom. Again, when you get to the bottom here, you want to leave a little bit of a gap between the cords to kind of still give you that nice diagonal Don't bug it all, alley. That's how Harry Potter got lost. Using the flu powder, I believe. Alright. Our next step here is to put an actual diamond in here. So, in order to do that, because we want to frame it with the running double half hitch knot, if you just end up going like this, it can look a little funny and a little split. I think it's best if you get these two here and kind of tie, I don't know what this knot is called, but like how you go to tie shoelaces, you know what, the very first step, you just kind of knot it that way. So you've got that right there. So it's just kind of trying to keep it together really. And then we're going to use both of these. It gives us a nice point at the top. We're going to use both of these as our runners now. Just want to make it a little bit lower because I want to keep the gap consistent so it looks more like an X. If you have someone who is a fan of X-Men, this could be a good gift for them. Maybe, probably not. Don't take my word for it. So I'm going to start with the left first, I think. Or I'm going to, just to get it a little bit more stable, I wonder what would happen. I'm going to do 1 for 1 for a little bit. That is our diamond complete. This is how it is looking so far. Is about this time in the program and you might start to see a little black mass entering the screen. Do not be alarmed. It is just my unborn child. I have run out of cord. Shock horror. So what I'm gonna do, I think, is we're gonna go and do a little half triangle here and a half triangle there, and then it will be done. use it, I'm going to go from left to right. And we're going to create a runner just to create like the end of the bianier. So I've purposely, now that I've finished here, I've purposely missed the last one out and I'm hiding it behind there just because if you put it on, it can make it look a bit weird. Like this will end up going out to the left too much. So I'm just gonna leave it like that and pray that no one recognizes it. The very last thing we have to do now is trim. Look at this, honestly. These are all my short pieces, and then for whatever reason I got this going on as well. It's just how the knots fall, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really a scientist or anything. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go and I'm going to cut these. I'm going to cut it so that it's long, but it's got like that kind of triangle look at the bottom. And then we will do the final reveal. In the space pretty well, which was the main goal, was to get something that fits in here nicely. It looks pretty good, I think, anyway. Simple, was easy to do, didn't take very long at all. So if you're a beginner and you want to have a crack, give it a go. Do something similar. Use square knots and just the double half hitch knots. It's easy and you can create pretty much anything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and shouldn't be scratching your head like I got nits. Fleas, probably more like it in my household. I hope you enjoyed this and are inspired to make something of your own. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below and I will try and answer it as best I can. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye. Dan, my hair makes me look like Beetlejuice. No, I dig Beetlejuice.